It's Jana here at Styles and Smiles. This week I'm going to actually combine a couple questions that I've had that kind of relate to each other. So the first one was about how often do we need to get haircuts and why? If it's really, do you need to get them that often? So the main answer for that, the quick, easy answer is depending on, okay, it's not really a quick and easy answer. So depending on if you want to keep your style or if you're trying to grow out your hair. So if you want to keep your style as it is at the length that it is going to be, about 6 to 8 weeks, because on average hair grows about a half an inch a month. And so if you want to be maintaining your same style, every 6 to 8 weeks you'll get that, inch or so off. So then if you want to grow out your hair, obviously you can have longer periods of time between haircuts, but you don't want to be like waiting 2 years between haircuts, which I know some people do. We just get busy and we don't even think about it, when you have long hair especially. The thing is, with your hair, it has different stages of hair growth. So all your hair is going to be different length at some point, because hair has different stages. So all of your hair, there's always some hair in each stage. There's 3 different stages. So some are active growing, some are just starting to grow, and some are dying off. And that's why you lose hair, average of about 100 to 150 hairs a day, is because those are the hairs that are going into that dormant stage. And so then they'll fall out, and then it starts over again, the beginning to grow stage, the actively growing stage, and then the dormant stage. So you want to keep keeping your hair trimmed up just so that you have more evenness at the ends. That's why people tend to get really, really thin, straggly on the ends, is because there's not as many in that active stage at that length. And so if you keep trimming it, you'll keep more at that same length, if that makes sense. And as you trim it, it keeps it healthier, so they're not breaking off. So it feels like it even grows faster if you can keep it trimmed, rather than having them all these break. People say, my hair never grows past a certain length. Mine never did either. I would only get maybe to here, but this is not even the longest that it's been. So the more you can keep it trimmed up and keep it healthier on the ends, the better it will grow altogether, because you won't just have that constant breaking of those ones that are the few that are the longest. So I recommend, if you want to be growing out your hair, doing more 4 to 6 months, having a trim, because at that point, if you grow a half an inch a month, at 6 months you've grown about 3 inches. Some people grow faster, some people grow slower. But if after 3 inches of growth you trim off, you only have to trim off 1 inch, you still have that 2 inches, and it will continue to grow. If you wait, then they're just breaking off, then you end up having to trim 3 or 4 inches at a time. You're not going to get that length, if that makes sense. So you want to keep trimming it to keep it continuing growing longer, which people always think that sounds weird, but it really does work, because then you don't have to trim off so much, you don't get as much breakage. The other question that one of my stylists had posed to her was, why am I getting so much breakage and I just got a trim a little while ago, and her ends were just getting really fried and breaking? Turns out she had been using a straightener at 450 degrees, and she had pretty fine hair. So girls, don't use the maximum temperature on your straightener if you don't need it, okay? Because honestly, like, if you think about when you cook something in your oven, are you going to cook everything? It's not highest heat is best. It's going to cook it faster, and it's going to get it done faster, right? Like, okay, that's cool maybe if you're a beginning baker. But if you try and put cookies in at 450 degrees, they're not going to turn out. Most baking kind of things, you cook around like 350, maybe 375. The only things I cook like 425, I don't think I ever cook at 450. Cook at 425 is when I have like frozen tater tots or frozen, like French fries or something. Maybe frozen pizza. I don't even know if that's even that high. But so it's different things that you cook at higher temperatures versus lower temperatures. So it's the same with your hair. The only hair that I would use 450 degrees, honestly, my straightener doesn't even go that high. I need to get a new one, because 450 is what we do for Brazilian blowouts, when we have that really curly hair and we're trying to heat seal in this product. If you don't have super coarse, kinky, resistant, super curly hair, you're not going to need 450 degrees. You're not even going to need 425 degrees. If you have more of the fine hair and you just need it smoothed and straightened or doing it curls or whatever, you know what, maybe 325 is going to be totally fine. So don't go take your straightener and just say, oh, hotter is better, it'll get it done faster and it'll get it done better. Not going to happen. Just as if you tried to cook your cookies at 450 degrees and get them done in 5 minutes. It's not going to work. So that's one of the biggest things is, you know, look at what you're using as heat-wise on your hair, because that's definitely going to cause breakage a lot sooner. The other thing that can make a huge difference is using heat protectant on your hair. So usually people that say that their hair is getting fried really fast, it is because they put heat on their hair. If you're never blow drying your hair, you're never straightening your hair, you probably don't have this issue. But for those of you that do regularly blow dry and straighten or curl your hair and you're noticing breakage, make sure you're using a good heat protectant. And by heat protectant, I mean product that says specifically heat protectant, or ones that say serums, you know, blow dry protection, anything like that. So, but you'll use different things for blow drying. So you'll use for blow drying as for dry hair. So if you have wet hair, you'll want to use serums or creams or even liquid sprays you can put on your hair. Anything that's a leave-in, but you want to do the liquidy stuff on your hair when it's wet. And so then you'll blow dry, and a lot of those things have stuff in it that helps it to blow dry faster and easier. It helps to get the water out of the hair that's been soaked into the hair. And so then that way you don't have to have the blow dry on your hair as long, and you don't have to have as much heat on your hair. So those are really good for blow drying. And then after your hair is dry, you want to use a good heat protectant before you put more heat on your hair. But those are the times that you use like those aerosol heat protectants. If you have an aerosol heat protectant, like we have some from Sexy Hair that's 450 Protect is what it's called. Doesn't mean you have to use your straightener or curling iron at 450 degrees. It just that protects up to that high of a heat. So it's called a 450 Protect, but it's an aerosol can one, so it's more of a dry spray that you spray on your hair before you put heat on it while it's dry. So using something like that will really help, because you know, you've all seen these videos of these girls doing these tutorials saying curl your hair, and then like the hair burns off and it's connected to the curling iron. You guys remember that video? First of all, I don't know what temperature she had her curling iron at, probably super duper hot. Second of all, whatever spray she put on was like Aussie, which make sure you watch my earlier videos about drugstore products versus professional products. It's not going to hold up the same. It's not going to be as protective. So going and getting something like from Aussie or from Herbal Essence or whatever those grocery store brands are, they're not going to have the same heat protection as getting something from like Sexy Hair Concepts or from Paul Mitchell or any of those other Aquage or things like that. There's some really good brands out there that you can get at salons. Or ask me about them and I can get you some stuff too, but they'll have a lot better protection and protect your hair in between those haircuts. And then that way you don't have to feel like your hair is breaking so much between haircuts that it's not even worth going in and getting them done, or you have to go in so often. So then that will just help maintain it between the haircuts. So then this way you won't get all that breakage, but make sure you're really, really protecting your hair. And make sure you're using the right temperature for your hair. So like I said, fine hair, you kind of go based on your hair. And remember, if you watch my terminology videos, I'm not talking about how much hair you have, the density of your hair. I'm talking about each individual strand. So if each individual strand, if you look at like the diameter, if you could, or if you hold it up, if it looks really, really fine, like a little skinny piece, you're going to use a really, really low temperature. If it's a really, really thick, huge, like you could floss your teeth with it kind of hair, and it has that curl to it, and it's really textured, then you can maybe try a higher temperature. But start at a lower temperature, see how easily you can get it straightened with a lower temperature, and then gradually increase the temperature on your straightener until you can get it to where you can do it easily enough, but it doesn't fry your hair. So those are my recommendations for how often to get a haircut and how to protect your hair between haircuts. Thanks so much for watching. Be sure to check out our other videos so you can understand some of the other things that I've talked about as far as texture and those terminology and things like that. And then also be sure to subscribe to our channel and share this video if you feel like you learned something. Thanks so much for watching.